SEC, it's actually a situation that's reviewed over the year. And the referee is to walk into the play. The referee has to absolutely make it clear. He whistled that play.
And he didn't do that.
He didn't do that.
No. That's what he should.
Okay, the ACC.
On your lives, thanks.
Somebody got, the light flip.
Yeah.
What else could I do? I you can hit him when he's trying to stop.
Okay, well, I mean, the three of us could be sitting here and hear something three different ways.
So that's a tackle, but you heard them, they were below the yard the whole time.
You know who didn't hear? Gerald R. Ford. Who was it? Was it George? Was it you who took the picture? Oh, it was you. What's the name of SMU Stadium? Winking.
Well, right, that's the joke.
Yeah. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And then afterward, they did like an ACC promo and whatnot, and then that trivia question is, what conference did SMU move into?
I don't know. Which one are they going to? Since everybody's out the go balls. I really thought, I know it's hot. I really thought the hashtag was retired.
No.
Which hashtag crazy? It's never gone.
It's never gone.
It's always in our hearts.
Never. I know. Dozens of years. This is a good sign that the Fever are hiring development coaches. There's no chance of there's a slight chance of
So this is a Fireflies. It's right. Chris Milfrey. Chris says KRIS.
What's up, guys?
All right.
All right, boys, shoot.
Here you got offensive coordinator Shane Dawson. Are there any questions for him?
What's your assessment of just the overtime final play? What happened? What went wrong?
We knew what they were going to play. They played like a red 7, which is like a bracket coverage down there. And we were high-lowing it wasn't like a safety, but it's like people across the board, right? And so Malley pushes out, comes back in, and JoJo's over the top. We're high-lowing that guy. The ball should be on Malley a little quicker. And so he kept tracing. I think Malley thought he was scrambling, so he headed up the field, and Carson thought he was going to stay flat. And so, just one of them things. I mean, really, the ball probably should have went to JoJo, really, but he was unavailable at the time. I don't know. I don't know how else to, he was unavailable.
What do you mean?
Wasn't available.
The,
You can watch the clip. He was unavailable.
the play before that,
Yeah,
you open a monster hole on the left side, and Marty just didn't clearly see it. After shoot, I know the Alugo game, the route and flat fell apart. But when you guys look at this, you're losing games by razor thin margins.
yeah.
Like, how do you deal with that as a coach?
It's hard, but ultimately, games across the nation are tight. You know, you look at them and games are won by 1 or 2 plays. I mean, I can go through that game, brother, and I can point out 3 plays that could cost you the game. You know, I mean, you know, we didn't get 2 short yardages, but if we get them, we probably have a good chance to win. You know, the pick, you know, backed up that gave them the touchdown. Like if we just punt there and they have to drive the field, like it's margins, it's very thin. And some of it's just bad luck that you have a hard time wrapping your head around, but you can't harp on it. You got to move on. You know, I mean, it is what football is. Football is played with an oblong ball that doesn't necessarily bounce straight, you know, so sometimes you're going to get the bounces and sometimes you're not. And so we just didn't get a lot of breaks that game, and we didn't do a lot to deserve it either. I mean, we had 9 penalties on offense and 5 drops, you know, and so that's hard to overcome. I mean, I never felt like we had a problem moving the ball. It was just shooting ourselves in the foot. You know, we had no 3 and outs. We had it ball backed up quite a bit, and we got the ball out. But then when we would get it, like, in a certain area, you know, we'd have a drop that would be the difference between a, you know, 3rd and 2 and a 3rd and 10. That's a big difference, you know. Then we would, you know, have a penalty. And so it's hard to overcome those things all the time. You can overcome a few of them, but it's hard to overcome them. So the theme that I'm trying to tell you guys is we have to quit shooting ourselves in the foot. You know, we got to play a little bit more relaxed and just loosen up and just quit shooting ourselves in the foot, because it has nothing to do with anything else. I mean, honestly, it's hard to say this out loud, but I wasn't displeased with a lot in the game. I was displeased with the self-inflicted stuff. You know what I mean?
With that self-inflicted stuff, like the slippery stance and stuff, 8, you know, with only a month left of the season, how do you get in there and address that? Do you simulate it more? Do you work on?
We simulated it a ton. You know, I mean, I think at some point we have very accountable kids and we have very accountable coaches. I mean, nobody's shying away from accountability. I know I got to do my job better. You know, I know if I do my job better, we win the game. Like, I have no issue bearing the burden of that. You know, when you have people in the room and you have people in the organization that have the care factor that we have, you don't have to harp on it as much as you think. They know. We know. And so ultimately, at some point too, if you push it past a certain line, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's where I don't want to go with it. I don't want to make it a bigger deal than what it is. I mean, there's probably, and you can do the stats, Gary, you love stats, huh? So there's more false starts, pre-snap penalties this year in college football than I've seen across the board. There just is. I watch college football when I get home, and it just seems like, you know, there's just a abundance of pre-snap penalties. Now, we're having our fair share of them, and we got to correct that, and we got to get that course corrected. And we are addressing it with multiple issues, and I'm not going to sit here and lay that out because that's just not appropriate for the game. But there will be changes that are made, and I think that will reflect, you know, some positives. But we have to stop shooting ourselves in the foot. And one thing about just not to cut you off, but the false starts, we overcame every one of them. Every false start, we ended up getting first downs and moving the ball. There were other things we didn't overcome. And it really, as aesthetically unpleasing as that looks, it didn't cost us the way I view the game. Like, when I watch the game, I watch things that cost us. You know, although I hate it and we got to get it fixed, I get it. It didn't necessarily stop drives. Other things did.
What are those other things? Sorry, if you could elaborate, what are the other things you're talking about?
The drop balls stopped more drives than the false starts. You know, the drop balls we had to punt every time, you know, every single drop ball cost us a punt. You know, and the holding penalties cost more than the false start penalties.
Mario told us that CJ is going to be a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And he indicated that, Mark, we don't know, but he didn't
Yeah.
sound particularly optimistic. When you're potentially going to be down, you're starting running back, okay. I mean, I know other guys have to step up.
Yep.
Even though CJ, but how much does that affect your sheet in that there is a difference between the one and the two?
It is.
Sometimes. How does that change your approach going into the week?
It will. I mean, you always look at who's available, you know, but you have to lay out a plan based on, you know, the people that are available and the defense you're playing. Like schematically, the defense matters a lot because what they've done in the past, you have to pattern what you do after that. You can't run nonsense plays over certain coverages that they run or whatever. So that matters. The people available matter, but I will say this, you know, I have confidence in those people in that room. Now, whether they've played a lot of snaps or not, it's no different than JoJo. I mean, JoJo goes in there Saturday and really makes some really great plays for us. You know, he had some unfortunate things happen, which we all do. I mean, look, there's some calls I want back too. I in no way, you know, I've never called a perfect game, and I never will. And if people are expecting that, then I don't know what to tell them. And so there's going to be plays that I want back, you know, and there's going to be plays that players want back. There's plays that Carson wants back. Ultimately, you hope that those plays don't cost you the game. And so, but I do have a high amount of trust in people that are in backup roles right now, and I'm excited to watch some of those guys play. I really am.
You probably know that you had a bit of a viral moment Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
I know now you're not thinking about what the heck people are going to say about it 2 days later, but when you are not in the booth, when you're out in the field especially, when people have more of a line of sight onto you, does it ever enter into the coach's mindset of just, you can't sometimes react the way you want to? And again, people can look at that and immediately draw the wrong conclusion as to what.
Well, I'm going to lay it out pretty simple. I pride myself on staying even keel through the hardest times. I wasn't like that as a young coach. I'll be, you know, very blunt with saying that, you know, I was a lot more animated 20 years ago, 25 years ago than I am today. Over time, you realize that bringing more stress to an already stressful situation isn't necessarily the best approach, you know. And I've dealt with that through my career, and now at this point in my career, regardless of how bad things are going, you're probably going to see the same type demeanor from me. Now, in that particular situation, it had nothing to do with the crazy thing about that. Our interaction, me and Coach Cristobal, it had nothing to do with that. I was talking into the headset, very upset about not getting a yard. That was simply that. I was like, we need to get the damn yard. You know, and we both agreed. That's why I promise you this, there's two things. One is I was raised right by parents, and I would never disrespect authority, never. You know, I serve a higher authority that I understand hierarchy of authority. I would never disrespect authority behind closed doors or even out in the public. With that being said, if I ever did something like that, you probably would see a reaction from him. The reason he didn't react, because it wasn't directed to him. It was directed towards frustration about not getting a yard. And so that's the clear part of it, is like I would never disrespect authority.
To be fair, I think those of us that have gotten to know you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Have a pretty good idea of what was happening.
Yeah. I mean, and people can come up with whatever narrative they want. I'm fine with that too. I mean, I don't really I haven't looked at Twitter, so I have friends that have texted me, and I was like, yeah, I said, look, I said, this is what happened, you know, I mean, but I don't typically pay too much attention to the Twitter warriors out there that know everything, you know.
Short yard, I think you guys were 3 of 6.
Yeah, I think we didn't get 2, right? Or was it 3?
I don't know.
Okay.
But what is a acceptable?
100%. You know, when it's 1 yard, it needs to be 100%. Now, they're good at short yardage. I knew that going into the game. They were oddly good at short yardage. And so they were at about a 50-something% clip at short yardage, right? And so I knew that their defense was good at short yardage. So I did have a couple wrinkles that I was going to go to if I felt like we were having real trouble. But through the course of the game at the beginning, we were getting them. You know, we snuck one. We went, like, there was about 3 or 4 that happened first we got. And in the fourth quarter, that particular one down there going into the opposite end zone, there was a timeout call. And so I had a certain play called. I probably overthought it, to be honest with you. And this is just facts. I trust our big guys up front. You know, I really do. And I trust them to get a yard. I trust our running backs to get a yard. And statistically speaking, you know, everybody's skewed on short yardage to run the ball. Like, you can look at everybody's short yardage. I mean, you're going to throw it a couple times, but you're probably going to run it more than any, right? And so there's always plays I go back and like, man, I wish I would have done that there when they don't work. Does that make sense? Like, and I go back to the Georgia Tech game last year and we ran spider and they covered it on 4th and 1. And if I would have just ran the damn ball right there, we'd probably win the game. And so it's always easy after you know what happened. And the reality is everybody out there that has a certain opinion is allowed to have that opinion after the fact. I'm not. I have to make the decision within seconds and live with the results. And so ultimately, I made the decision based on how I felt this team is made up, and I think we're elite up front, elite. And I'm going to lean on those guys in those situations, and I think they respect that. And so was it the right or wrong call? Obviously, it was a wrong call because it didn't work. That specific play, we ran 4 times that day, and I think it got 10 yards every time, and it got none that time, to put it in the framework for you. So
In kind of the same vein, like, how do you balance, like you said, like, they're good at stopping short runs, you guys are having getting short runs. How do you balance, like, if you, like you said, you did it a few times earlier in the game, it works. How do you balance being, you know, going to the well again with something that has worked versus, you know, potentially being too predictable, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's decisions. It's based on feel a lot of times. I mean, I call games on gut most of the time. It's no different than when we got down in the third quarter. I think they got the ball first and went and scored, and then we got the ball first and didn't have a penalty or anything and went down there and scored, which is typically what happened when we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. We drove the field. But that obviously, you know, there was very few drives that we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. But we got down like on the 3-yard line, and I threw just the tight end in the back of the end zone because I knew, like, hey, you know, going into that situation, they're pretty good up front. But in that situation, I have a down after that. I have another down after that. Yeah. In those situations, I don't. And so the decision becomes a little bit more friction-based when you don't have a down the next down. I got to be right, you know. And so when you do make those decisions to throw it in those situations, the gravity of those decisions are a little heavier, you know. Now, I'm very comfortable throwing it in those situations, you know, but the times in my life where I've thrown it the most in those situations, I haven't had the O-line I have sitting in this room. And so I always go back in full circle to, man, we're built big, we're built strong. It just so happened that we didn't get it on those couple of times. I mean, we are, minus this game, you know, and this played a part in it, just to be clear, our short yardage efficiency was one of the best in the country. And it just so happened we didn't get that.
That's a smart question.
You were 55, 56% pass, 44, 45% rush.
Yeah.
This year it's like 52, 48 run. Is it?
That's not much different, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Well, no, not.
Just making sure.
You know, I'm just, clearly it's not. It's only, you know, one play a quarter, basically, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Is it, how important is it to be that? We hear all the time that you got to be able to do both, obviously.
Yeah.
Unless you're Air Force or Navy, then that's very different, of course.
Wise words.
Is it not a conscious thing? I mean, sometimes, like I said, you call plays like that, and you're not sitting there saying, okay, I just ran it, now I got to throw it to even it out. But how important is it to be as close to 50-50 as you can get?
I don't.
You are built as big as this team.
Yeah, I don't view it as 50-50. I really view it as what's working and what they're trying to take away. And so if they're going to sit there and play cover 2 the whole game, then running the ball every time is the smart thing to do. And if they're going to sit there and have an extra guy down, then throwing it every time is the smart thing to do. So to me, balance is more in, is the ball getting spread around? To go back to your option, you said something about option football, right? Option football, to me, is a beautiful thing because the ball kind of gets spread around a lot, you know? And so our offense years ago, the true air raid was kind of stemmed from that mentality. It's like, hey, let's get the ball to a lot of people a lot of different ways. And so if you look at our offense, that's why I throw the ball in the flats a lot, because ultimately I view that as run game. Like I view that as like extensions of run game. So it's just ways to get certain people touches, and sometimes they work out and sometimes they get tackled for a 1-yard gain, and I don't really care because it makes them track the field and tackle the guy, you know, with the ball. And so those decisions are more box related. So most of our run game has the ability to spit the ball out at some point, you know, whether it's a glance or a hitch or somebody going to the flats. So I kind of view that as triple option football. That's our way of running triple option. Now, Carson actually kept it in the game Saturday and got like 10 yards, well, that's great. We need to do that more, you know. And so our run game isn't always, hey, we're going to hand it no matter what. Now, sometimes it is, but the majority of the first and second down run game is not wired that way because there's throws that could be made. Now, a lot of times you go back and look and you're like, man, we had that, probably should have threw it there, handed here. Those are decisions that are always a little gray at times because there's people in those windows or whatnot. And so those decisions, it would be interesting if you went back to your statistical data that you went. And so I did this years ago, was like pass versus run. That's an easy one to look at, right? But sometimes like you take all those passes from last year and this year, it's about the same, right? 50% or a little, the pie's shifted one way or the other. But out of that 50% of passes, how many of them were on protection? How many of them were on run game? That would be probably, that would tilt the stats a little bit more into understanding how balls get spread around. Because I would guarantee you that, you know, there was probably a little bit more last year of run game, you know? And so that's just the way it is. It's the way the flow of football happens. Now, you know, I know we got to do a lot better in a lot of areas of offense, and everybody thinks we forgot how to coach offense, and I get it. Like everybody's frustrated, and we suck. I'm well aware of our situation. I get told. My wife tells me what everybody's typing, and so yeah. So she loves it. She gets a lot of entertainment of reading everybody's stuff, and so she knows how bad of a football coach I am at this point. And so it's easy. But you lost my train of thought. I forgot where I was going with that.
You were politely telling me that stats aren't, that I look at stats too much. I think it's
No, I love stats. I mean, stats are good. You know, sometimes they're misleading is what I would say. You know, what I was going to say, I know what I'm going to say now. You know, statistically, you know, you take a deep dive into who we are as an offense. And we're, you know, 30-something in the nation or 40th in the nation in scoring and offense, which is average, a little above average, but not great, right? The couple things we're, you know, pass protection-wise, we're kind of elite. Like we give up, like I think we're 2 in the nation or 3. Negative yards plays, I think we're 2 in the nation. We don't have a lot of negative plays. I mean, that stuff to me, like when you ask me about like going for it on 4th down and run versus pass, I mean, the efficiency of those guys factors in more than, hey, I want to be a cowboy here and do something that get put on Twitter. I could care less about that, you know. I think our big guys up front need to be, you know, rewarded with, hey, let's get a damn yard, and I trust you guys and I love you guys. And so, you got a question? Or are you fixing your shirt? Got it. All right, go ahead.
So the sign trade was hot in the first half.
Do I know?
JoJo was hot in the first half, 4 for 84. What went into him only getting 1 target in the second half?
Nothing. I mean, you can read a lot into that. The fact is that plays are called and progressions take the quarterback to the receiver, you know. And so if you look at the touchdown he got, he could have threw it to Josh. I mean, we ran vertical switch on both sides, which Carson checked that, which was a doubles play, and he checked it. I can't take credit for that call. He checked it. So, but over here on the left side, he could have ripped Josh up the hash, and he probably initially should have. But when he looked over there, the safety tracked that way, so he went to JoJo. So the safety took the ball to JoJo. If the safety would have went that way, Josh would have got that touchdown. And so I think, to answer your question in the most straightforward way, I don't, like, there's no pass play I call and tell Carson, hey, you throw it to JoJo on this play, or you throw it to Josh on this play. It's not how our offense is programmed. Our offense is programmed, I call a play, and Carson's eyes are bam, 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 and the open guy gets the ball, you know? And so there's gonna be times through the course of the game where people get touches in abundance, and there's gonna be times where they don't. It's just the flow of the game. And so I could argue the fact that, like, JoJo might have gotten, I don't know this, I'm just throwing it out there, but other people probably wasn't getting touches early. And the question should be, why wasn't they? Right? Does that make sense? Because if you're going to ask, like, well, he got touches here, but he didn't get touches there, well, the other guys didn't get touches there, and they got touches there. So the question could be flipped around very easily. Does that make sense?
Well, I think production changes it, right? I think because he was so.
Production changes what the defense does.
Okay, so the defense changed?
I would say that when somebody is getting targeted a lot, the defense is going to sit there and say, hey, we probably need to guard that guy. And then the ball is going to go to other people because other people are open. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Great, thank you, Coach Sauce.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
What I'm hearing is Malachi Tony triple option.
Huh?
Malachi Tony running the triple option.
Don't tell anybody.
Well, that's what we'll let. That was good speed on Twitter.
Their strength is so pronounced. Yes. And it's you mean
What happens when your friend, every team knows your friend, they can solve it.
No, also never won home run derby as well. Gerald J.
Are you sure?
No, not really.
They usually home run derby, but any other home run derby? High school home run derby?
Wiffle ball.
American Legion? down.
What's going on, guys? You gotta change that hat every week. Yankees hat.
We have a defensive coordinator, Corey Heatherman. Do you have any questions?
Corey, what'd you make of the final drive in regulation and then also in overtime? Obviously, it's not what you guys were wanting.
Yeah, I think, they had, I think it was just over 2 minutes left. They had the 2-minute warning. Kind of thought they'd start with a run or quick game or something to get the drive going there right before the 2-minute warning. They threw up the shot. Good throw. Kid makes a one-on-one play. After that, I thought we really settled down. We got them at I think it was a 3rd and 19. They hit the check down. I thought we got to clean up our depth a little bit. Thought our direction delivery underneath, we got to be a little bit faster to contain that, more fourth and off track, and then we get the penalty. And I don't know. We're in a situation to win the game there, and then gets them into field goal range. I still think it's going to be a long field goal. The quarterback scrambles out, gets it to be about a 50-yarder, and then the last play, they complete the pass and makes it a little bit more manageable, and they hit the field goal there. But situation, we got to get off the field. We got to win the one-on-one. I think I've gone through what coverages, what else to call there, what to be in. It's going to be a one-on-one in almost everything you call right there. And I thought one thing that stood out going back and watching other games. I mean, they made some of those one-on-one plays, and they hadn't made maybe some of those plays in the past couple weeks or past couple games, and they won a couple more one-on-ones this week, and we just could get back down to the fundamentals and the techniques and make those stops in those situations.
Anything in overtime, obviously trying to force the field goal at least.
Yeah, I think we knew they were going to run the football. We didn't think they were going to throw the football. The first one, they went quarterback run. We got to get the extra hat in. I thought there, we put the help on the other side of the defense, and it's a tough play. They take the will linebacker out. They run the lead block with the tailback, and we're nervous about getting a wheel again in that situation. And, the linebacker goes to carry that. We got to get the safety down to fit, and I thought it was a good call by them. After that, we got to knock the line of scrimmage back. I think they had negative rushing yards in the first 60 minutes, and they ran for 25 yards in overtime, and we can't let that happen. And we got to respond in those situations, and we got to finish the game better there.
They seem to do a real good job of putting a lot of stress on the defense and the secondary. They threw the ball like 90% of the time. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's pretty close to that probably.
Yeah.
And they were throwing it. And it seemed at times there was a little confusion in the back. Was that a result of just how much they were throwing at you guys? I mean, you probably couldn't possibly prepare for that.
Yeah, I think, the two halves were very different. I think the first half, they stuck to what they did. And, going back through and watching, no matter what game it was, the first half, I think, was very similar to what they had shown tendency-wise. And, I thought, they try to run the ball, they try to get on track, or they'd go quick game, or, they had a couple shots they threw at us out of unbalanced formations. And, I thought they did a couple of good things scheme-wise in the first half, and I thought our guys responded really well. They hit the wheel early. We peaked in the backfield, and they went unbalanced and ran a double move, and our guys responded. We got a 3-and-out after that play. We responded, forced them to punt. And I thought our guys responded really well to some of the junk or some of the different pictures that they maybe hadn't shown on film. And we got off in those situations. And then second half, I feel like, really probably right away, I feel like they kind of abandoned the run and just went to, trying to figure out what our coverage was going to be, take access throws if they were there. If they weren't there, they were going to throw up some one-on-ones and throw up some shots. And I thought they won some of those situations. And it's one of those things, our guys made a lot of really good plays. I mean, there were some challenge balls on linebackers, on safeties, on the nickel, where our guys won a lot of plays, and there were a couple that they won. Those are plays that, I think we wish we had back right now, but I think it was the most he's thrown the ball since the conference championship game the year before. I think he threw it 50 times in that game. I think he threw it 45 times in our game. Jennings made throws in this game. I don't think he threw it maybe the same way a couple of the other games. I thought he was on point, and their guys made some good contested catches. I mean, there's a couple throws that they come down with where our guys are playing through the hands. They're right there in step with them. And there's a couple times our guys are breaking, and before they hit the ground, our guys are driving through them and trying to punch the ball out. And they made a couple big plays. And, those are the situations we just got to respond. And then, we got to, I thought when they got the tempo going, we got to do a better job of, settling down and just, playing within the defense. I thought a couple times he pushed the pocket and scrambled, and we got to fit within our scramble rules a little bit more.
There's so much focus in football, obviously, at 50-50 unbalanced by offenses. When somebody goes that far in the other direction, doesn't it almost make it more difficult to defend?
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest thing is we got to get them off track. When they, I think that's what their plan was, just treat first, second down, see if we can get a play. Because I think, they converted the first third down of the game, and then they went 0 for 10, really until the final drive. And, if we got them ahead of the stick, or we got them behind the sticks, we felt very good about it. And when they started to get going, there were times where we got them back off track as they went tempo, especially in the first half. I thought our guys did a really good job. We settled down, we had some calls, and I thought our guys played really well with it. And, the first drive of the second half, I think our guys, we think we take the football away, we go back out, they get a drive starter, and then, they make a guy miss a tackle, and then we lose contain, they push the pocket, and I thought the quarterback made a couple really good football plays. And, I think that's who that kid is. I mean, there's a reason why that was a playoff team last year. The quarterback's a very good football player. And I thought he stepped up and made a couple really good plays on that drive. I thought our guys settled down. I thought, we had a couple series we put back to back. We played really well. And then, I thought they got going a little bit after that. And I think, we got to do a better job of rotating more guys, keep our guys fresh on the field. I felt that in the second half a little bit. And that was, maybe similar to what it was with the Florida State game. We got to continue to rotate guys, and as hard as it is to take some of the guys off the field, we got really good players on our roster that we got to continue to put them in some of these situations and keep our guys fresh for those end of game situations. And but I thought there's a couple contested balls, there's a couple like the one on Key's right there. There's one on Mo, I think he's right there. Same thing, there's one on the sideline. I think we got two guys flying in to make the hit. One time we have the quarterback, we're clean on the blitz, we lose contain. He makes a play with his feet, we come out of coverage. And it's just, some of those things that we got to clean up there, in that really the fourth quarter.
The lady on the quarterback, after watching the film and talking tonight, can you explain to us what exactly happened?
Yeah, I think, we called the timeout. I think one official, the official on our sideline blew the whistle, and their guards are blocking our interior defenders. The edge guys are still blocking. I think once Keith heard it or realized what was going on, he's holding the quarterback up, and I don't know, that changes the game a little bit, puts them in field goal range. So I feel very good about where we are in that situation. We got them off track, and I don't know. So
how would you say, just in general, right, there's 4 games left, lots of football left, how would you say the vibe is with your side of the ball here this week, obviously coming off the loss, and then also like your side of the ball is playing well, and the offense is kind of trying to figure things out on their side and just maintaining that team aspect of not pointing fingers and getting down and continuing the strong effort.
No, we're all in this thing together. Everything works together. The offense, the defense, the special teams. I'm very, very confident in what we do on offense. In practice, our offense, I still feel week to week is the best team we play. The talent that we have on that side of the football, how coach runs it, the job that Coach Dawson does, and we have all the belief in the world that, we're going to get the ball, we're going to score. Special teams, I think those guys do a great job. We've done some really good job in the return game and on special teams, setting us up, having the offense backed up as we start drives. And, defensively, I think we had really good meetings today. Obviously, no one walked in all happy, and it's just what it is. We lost the game this past weekend, put ourselves in a tough spot. But I thought we had really productive meetings. We'll continue to get things cleaned up. I thought our guys played really fast. I thought we played, really good football there for most of the game. There's a couple things we got to get cleaned up. They made a couple plays, and that's the hard thing in football. I think they had some really good football players too. Tight ends, really good football player. Those backs could run. Wide receivers were good, talented players. And they won a couple of the one-on-ones against us. We want them back, but that's the game of football. And now it's just get back to it, play with good technique, continue to communicate. We got to get a couple of situational things cleaned up. And, I think our guys had a really good walkthrough today. And I think we're looking forward to being 1-0 against Syracuse this week.
Mario said that OJ is probably out for a few more weeks at least. Like, what do you think of Xavier and Mario and Ethan able to step up in his role?
Yeah, I said it last week. I think, we look at it like we have 4 starters there, and I think we have really good young players. I don't even think twice about what guys on the field. We're going to call the defense the same way. It doesn't matter which guy's playing, right or left or boundary field or what the matchup is. I'm very, very confident in those guys in that position.
And then, looking at Syracuse, just what's the about their offense? Obviously, they've been struggling a lot since their starting quarterback got hurt.
Yeah, I think when you watch them, it's different week to week. Watch them against Tennessee, watch them against Clemson, and the way that they came out and started fast against Clemson. I think they had a special teams. They got the ball. They got a short field. They went down and scored. I think their running backs do a really good job. You watch Georgia Tech, the first play of the game is almost a touchdown. The back's out. I think they run the ball really well. I do think they have good skill on the perimeter. I think a couple guys have been battling injury. I'm not sure whether we'll see them this week or not, but I do think they have, they win the one-on-ones early in the season. They're doing a really good job there, and then the quarterback plays I'm not sure who we're going to see. I think they've done some good things there. Last week I think obviously they struggled at that position, but I think it's first time he's played. I think now he'll have the game under a little bit more experience. He'll have some more situational things that he went through last week and able to learn from. And I'm not sure we're going to prepare for everyone. It's almost like going into the first game of the season. You see different things today going on there at Syracuse, and then, obviously personnel-wise, who's going to be the quarterback, who's healthy. And you're getting to that point in the season right now where every week, you're playing for certain guys. You're not really sure who's really going to be on the field, who's not going to be on the field. Obviously we had a couple injuries this past week, and I thought our guys really responded. And I mean it when I say, like, I think we have really good depth. We have some younger guys that I think could have played more. We have some younger guys I think can go handle that situation right now. And I'm not going to think twice about the call we make because I trust the guys that are on the field. You look like Mondo. Like, Mondo's playing 3 technique. He's in there like nose guard. He's in there at end. And I don't think twice. He plays really well. Same thing with the corners, the safeties. Fitz is out there. I know he's going to make the play. And I feel like that at all 3 levels on defense right now.
Justin Scott and Ahmad getting more time, or Justin Scott and Dr. Simpson getting time with Ahmad not playing last week. Just your thoughts on how they did and what they can potentially do with.
Yeah, I thought Justin Scott played really well. Like, you watch what he went out there and he did a couple things this week where, like, you can see his growth. Like, he makes the really good play, the hustle play against Notre Dame where he gets the ball out on the sideline. And then every week when you take his clips and you watch how he's developing and growing, and some weeks it's a lot of reps, some weeks maybe it's not as many reps, but you watch his development and his movement this weekend, and he gets a one-on-one, he gets PBU. He wins his one-on-one against the line of scrimmage, and there's a couple times in the run game he knocks the line of scrimmage back, and his footwork is much better, his pad level's much better. I think he's growing with more confidence right now, and he's a guy I'm excited to see what he does this week. And as the season goes and progresses, same thing with Dante. He's a guy that I thought he had a really good spring football camp. I thought he played pretty well, and then you get in a situation where now there's pressure. It's a scrimmage, or it's a game against a different color jersey, or it's a different stadium, or all of a sudden it gets a lot. Your eyes get a little bit bigger, and I think now he has more experience, he has more game reps, and I think he's settled down in that situation. I think same thing with him. You're seeing him play more confident. He's coming off the ball faster. He's doing a better job with his hands and his strike. And I think he's playing with more awareness now as he grows that confidence.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.